Hello, headphone mixers. My name is Paul Third, and that man across from me is award-winning mix and mastering engineer Emrah Celik, with over 3 billion streams to his name, with 90% of those streams coming from mixing on headphones. Now, this week we have another headphone review for you, and it's going to be Emrah that's going to do most of this because it's Emrah that tried these headphones out. Now, due to the kind of success and the intrigue of the Sennheiser HD650 review, many people were asking us to do a review of the HD490, and thankfully for us, Emrah had somebody that he knew who had a pair, and he was able to try them out, mix on them, test them. So Emrah, tell us your thoughts and opinions of the HD490 Pro for mixing.
Yeah, let's get to the conclusion. I'm gonna say mostly positive.
Okay.
Presentation, the box and everything, it comes with 2 different cables, and even you can change the headbands. It's quite packaged.
Yeah.
It's quite packaged. You have extra pads, producer and mixing pads.
Yeah.
You have extra cable, and here you have the shorter cable that I use, and you see the bumblebee.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, I actually seen it. I didn't see it at first. As soon as you said that, there is the
see that, right?
Transformers.
It's a fucking bumblebee, bro. It looks like bumblebee. It's fucking sweet, right? So you have extra headbands. You can to match with the pads you are using, because they are different in different colors. I don't know why Sennheiser call them mixing pad, because their producer pad sounds better.
Yeah, has more bass. And actually, Emrah, let's do that now. So let's have a look at the frequency response.
Yeah,
so we can
let's look at the frequency response.
Right, okay. So I'll have it up on the screen now. So as you can see, me and Emrah are both looking at this right now. So you can see that the mixing pad is very flat in the low end, and it's got that Sennheiser roll-off in the low end, which is kind of starting between, it looks like it's maybe 45 hertz. You're kind of getting that slow roll-off. Now, the producing pad has as much as like 3 dB more low end, but obviously it has a lot more mid bass, which you can see. So compared to Harman, it's going to sound maybe a little bit on the muddy side, but it is going to sound, I was going to say a little bit less bright, but the two of them are pretty similar in the top end, are they, Emrah? I think the producing pads maybe has a little bit more upper mids, but from maybe say like 1.5K upwards, they're pretty close, aren't they?
It's just slightly exciting.
Yeah.
It's fun to listen to. That's why they call it producing pads, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you this is another trick, right? If you produce music, you need fun headphones to use.
Yeah.
More bass, more treble, because you are not mixing. You are not trying to make it commercial at that moment.
Yeah.
So it's not that important. This could be a perfect producing headphones. It's extremely well built. I think it will last a lot. It's basically everything that you can ask for from an open back headphone. This is pretty good. Build quality is perfect to me, and the comfort is way better than HD650. And the clamp force, it's more. It's more comfy compared to HD650. It's pretty open. It's okay, It's just like HD650 on steroid.
Okay. So is it wider than 650?
Yeah, sound stage is wider compared to HD650, but it's not the widest I have ever heard.
And does the imaging, I remember when you said about the 650, you kind of felt like the image, everything kind of went on top of each other. Yeah, it wasn't like it was separate. It was not very good separation. It was like everything kind of fell on top of each other. Are they the same, or do they have a little bit better separation?
No, these are more open.
Okay.
These are more separated.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not perfectly separated.
Yeah, it's not like hyphen separation, yeah.
No. It's not hyphen separation or R70X.
Yeah.
Separation, but other than that, I really don't like to talk about the build quality, how they look, and how sexy they are, and something like that, because we care about the sound more than anything.
We're mix engineers, and mastering.
We're mix engineers, and Yeah, you can use them all day long. You're gonna get used to it. But the comfort is not superb,
Okay.
but it's okay.
Okay.
The cables are okay. Everything is good.
What about weight-wise? How do you feel weight-wise about them?
It's pretty light.
Okay. And just for those wondering, what is the impedance of these headphones, and how easy are they to drive, Emrah?
It's much more easier than HD650, but I think you should still, you have to use amp, right? A good amp, but it doesn't have to be a super powerful amp.
Yeah, because what are the Emrah, 130 ohms?
130 ohms, yeah.
Right, okay. And it's got a sensitivity of 105 dB per milliwatt, which actually is relatively sensitive, but the issue is that it's still relatively high. That I'm pretty sure that's leaning you more into your Neumann NDH30s and stuff like that. So they're not they're not the lowest impedance, they're not the highest impedance, but they are still going to need a decent amp.
Especially on the mixing pads, you have to boost low end.
Yeah, a lot.
You still get that HD650 mid range and highs, and smooth, forgiving and stuff like that, but there's no sub. Sub frequencies are missing. It goes down to 5 hertz, I guess, but it's plus minus 10 dB.
Yeah, it rolls off. Yeah,
it rolls off. That's the problem, because you have to boost. If you are using mixing pads, you have to boost like 7-8 dB on the low end.
Correct. And what did we see earlier, Emrah? It was 4.7 dB for the producer pad.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 dB for producer pad as well, and that's still too much. It's better, if you are going to mix on these, use producer pad.
Yeah, I
please.
agree.
Please.
And what about distortion, Emrah? How much low end boost could they actually take in your tests?
If you don't EQ them, you don't hear too much distortion, but you can still hear that there's a limit. You reach the limits quickly with these. Especially if you're driving them over 85 dB, like around 90 dB, I feel the drivers can't handle it.
Yeah, the low end starting to become a little bit coloured, and again, you're losing the punch, the definition.
Compressed, and it's getting thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
But around 85, it's okay. It's not perfect, but you still hear a little compression. Around 75 dB SPL, they sounds okay.
Okay.
But then it's not the mixing level I used to like.
Yeah, you're not driving the headphones enough. Yeah. And so what would you say, around 2 dB low shelf is probably the max that you'd probably be able to give these? Yeah,
I guess so, because the more you add, the more you are, reaching to the distortion level. It's going to be, it sounds maybe a little strange, but I will prefer a 650 over this.
Okay. So you would actually prefer the 650 over the HD490 Pros?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm saying. And why? Because the driver handling the low boost on HD650 is slightly better.
Okay.
They don't distort easily as this one.
But what's funny is that even still, for anybody who's not seen the review, even with HD650, we still don't advise mixing on HD650 because they distort in the low end. Again, this is a thing with so many dynamic drivers. But what about translation, Emrah? Do you feel that it gives you basically the same translation as you did get from the HD650s?
Yeah, exactly. They are pretty much. I felt the same.
Okay.
I wanted to add more bass when I listen to them.
Right. Okay.
Because I was boosting like 5-6 dB, but I still want to have more bass.
Yeah, because the bass is capping off because it can't handle that. That's something that I try and say to people, and many people are not used to hearing proper linear kind of uncolored low end, and a lot of the people don't like it because they get used to this kind of round, smooth low end because you don't really get it. And all of a sudden they're hearing low. If you're getting an Nanda Nanos or something like that, then all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa! Oh my God, I can hear the definition in the kicks." And no, this is too much low end. I'm like, no, that's what actual low end sounds like.
It doesn't justify the price.
Yeah,
that's the thing. If they were around 250, That would be good. Then you wouldn't get those extra packages, pads and stuff like that. Maybe I can show a better headphones, good, much better headphones than these. Pretty much.
The ounds, yeah.
Yeah, cheaper one.
And we are going to have a review of that because so many people have been raving about them. There's even a few people in the Discord that have them. And Emrah does have a lot of positive things to say about them.
In every aspect, these are better headphones than HD, 490.
And the 650 and the 600, yeah. Would you actually say they're better than any Sennheisers you've used, would you say?
Yeah, I can definitely say that. But just because it's going to be hard because Sennheiser has it's a legendary headphone company. I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it because I have better alternatives. And
I think that's the issue, isn't it? That at that price point, Sennheiser have put themselves in a difficult position because I am very interested to hear the review of the AR5000s. We were hoping that I was maybe going to get a pair, but that's not going to happen. So it'll be Emrah's review of them. But, there are a lot of alternatives. Again, there's a lot of planars now that are in that kind of price bracket. And, yeah, you can get a lot of good planars around that kind of price bracket. Are there any other alternatives around that price bracket that you could think of?
They can go for Sundara.
Yeah, Sundara. Can't believe I forgot about that. 100%. Yeah. And I think, that's something that I struggled with was because I'm a planar guy. When I was at my good friend Dead Thorns in London, he had a pair. And I remember it was before he got the Ananda Nanos. And I had the Ananda Nanos in my bag. And we were doing A/B tests. And I remember listening to the 490 Pros and he had them through Deer VR because that's another thing we didn't mention is that they do come with software. So they come with the Deer VR software that you can use to kind of do the room simulations, and it gives you a Harman curve as well that you can use, which Ed uses every so often. Again, I heard all of that. I'm not a big fan of the Deer VR software. Realphones for me is the one that actually seems pretty accurate. And again, I tried EQing it differently as well, and I still, even with EQ, the HD490s were pleasant sounding, but as soon as I went, Ed, try on the Nanos, all of a sudden he was like, wow, there is the low end. There is the slam. Like, wow, these aren't forgiving. Wow, that center image and the vocals are like right there, and there's all the detail, and I could really judge the energy. I just felt like I couldn't judge the energy very well on the HD490 Pros, and they just have that Sennheiser sound that I've been used to over the years.
Yeah, Sennheiser housing
sound. It's a housing sound, isn't it? It's almost like a bit of a graininess, like a smeariness, or maybe not smeariness, veiled. That's it. Many people talk about Sennheiser having a veiled sound, and I would say veiled is a very, very, very good kind of way of putting it. And I think it's because the microdynamics aren't really there. Like, for me, a much better option is the Audio-Technica ATH R70XA that we've reviewed. Check that out, because for me, what that headphone does is it gives you the openness, but it also gives you the microdynamics as well. I could still trust the low end, and again, you can only maybe give it like a 2 dB bass lift. So again, you can't fully trust the low end, but if you're really doing like bass heavy genres and stuff. But in terms of the image, in terms of the microdynamics, in terms of the energy, again, I think they really, really are like a good contender for mixing country and some pop, rock, acoustic stuff, jazz. But yeah, the Sennheiser's just, and I just think for us, Emrah, I don't think there ever is going to be a Sennheiser that does it for us. But, at the end of the day, just because it's not for us and we don't feel like we get good translation out of it, doesn't mean that you won't. My good friend Ed Thorne has tried it, but he keeps on going back to the Nanos. He keeps on going back to his Odyssey MX4s. So, yeah, they're all right. But I think it's maybe a little bit of, I don't know, I want to say a bit of marketing hype. Again, it's this whole thing because Sennheiser have the brand. They've got the mixing pads and the producer pads. And many people are going to be like, oh, yeah. That's the ones, the studio. Everything else is hi-fi. Nah, they're pretty hi-fi sounding to me, but just our opinions at the end of the day.
To be honest, with all my heart, I really want to hug these headphones. They are beautiful. They are beautiful. Sennheiser did a great job. But I wish there was a sub.
Yeah, I know.
I wish there was a sub. It's just thin.
Bro. Yeah. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
So yeah, there will be a review on the AR5000 coming at some point. I imagine it'll be relatively soon. So yeah, that's what opinions. Leave your opinions down below. I know you will, especially you Sennheiser fans. You will let us know how wrong we are in the comments down below.
Butcher us on the comments.
Right, so there you have it. That's Emrah Celik's opinion. My name is Paul Third. That's Emrah Celik, and we'll see you again on the next instalment of MixPhones.